Kyle Rittenhouse was the first person that came to mind when I found out about the not guilty verdict. These disgusting people will fight tooth and nail about being pro-gun and having the right to bear arms up until it is one of our boys or girls. This is a 14-year-old baby that was shot and killed over bottled water that he did not steal. If ever y'all notice I personally go silent when it comes to things like this, is because it's just mentally exhausting. How many times have we been here? How many times has this happened? We need unity now more than ever amongst Black people.
All right. I don't know the title per se, but this is going to be about the hypocrisy of American government, the legal system of Black America. Because I think let me just say some things. All this is factual. Don't worry about it. So let's go back to the civil rights movement, right? Emmett Till. Emmett Till was murdered. Then it became national news. Then you had an all-white jury that acquitted these guys of murdering them. And then these guys got like on, I don't know if that was 60 Minutes, but years later they got on something like 60 Minutes and just bragged about what they did on the interview, right? These years later. You know, you can go a little bit further. You can go further back to the George Stinney case. You know, they executed a 13-year-old in an electric chair for something you know he didn't do. But let's fast forward because I want to talk about hypocrisy. Not even fast forward. In that time period, as a matter of fact, the United States government got in bed with the mafia to try to take over Cuba to make it something like a Sin City. During the Batista, when Batista was, I guess we say, president or whatever, and then Castro came after that, and thus, you know, the constant quote unquote bombing and embargoes is because what wound up happening is Cuba beat the U.S. and the mafia and basically got them out of Cuba, so they became an enemy and blah blah blah. Now the hypocrisy is, and I'm not saying us as Black America would do this, but I'm saying this wouldn't happen with Black America. You're not going to get the government to side with the Crips and the Bloods to go to the Dominican Republic and try to take over. It's not going to happen. Okay, so that's that type of stuff. Where a lot of people's anger and animosity lies now. Fast forward a little bit. No, take that back. I'm going to stay in that era. Also, the United States government got in bed in the drug trade with the Vietnam War. You know, they gave a lot of soldiers a lot of drugs during the Vietnam War that basically made them addicts. And also, you know, the CIA was basically flying dope around to pay for covert funds. And then we get back to America, you had a big heroin problem, right? Heroin/weed. That's it. But we just, they were able to do that. You fast forward that same premise, that's Iran-Contra. You know, Ronald Reagan, George W. Bush, and what everybody goes, the crack era. The crack era is really the United States government's era of getting into the coke business. And a crack era is, you know, Black people got blamed. That was Oliver North, you know, being what was he, a general or something like that? Yeah, you in the military, your government, we had you doing this, we got your back, buddy. It's like, yeah, this is the government you talking about. Even in that time, 70s, 80s, Operation Push, you know, in Philadelphia, basically bombing Philadelphia blocks because you ain't like what they were doing. You know, oh my God. But the only people that got bombed in America was Black people by America. It was Operation Push. It was Tulsa. You know, because There were sheriffs and whatnot in the Tulsa thing with the planes. But hey, legally that's not a big deal. Now let me in the 80s also. OJ. People go, oh, OJ got off, OJ this, OJ that. Let me tell you what the funniest part about the OJ story is that white America likes to turn a blind eye to on purpose. There's three things that black America knew y'all full of it. First, you mean to tell me this lady was always dealing with drug dealers and she was owing drug dealers money, but drug dealers, because I think they was like mafia cats, but they were never a suspect because because if I'm not mistaken, Nicole Simpson had a habit of not paying drug dealers for drugs and just getting and telling OJ she owed people money, and now he got to go around and pay people before they mess around and kill her. That was the thing, but you let that part off the hook. Mark Furman, you let a racist cop plant evidence and it was like, not a big deal. Like it all affected the case per se, but now people act like it's not a big deal because that's not a big deal. Didn't Mark Furman die basically like in Idaho somewhere, basically in like a neo-Nazi white supremacist camp because that's where he was held up. That's where he decided to live, and that's where he took his life after the OJ verdict. Kind of proving the point. The third one, you mean to tell me the maintenance man was a serial killer? See, none of these people were actual. Where Mark Furman was the only one, but these other things didn't even come up. And even with the Mark Furman thing, people were trying to overlook it then. Oh, it's not a big deal because that's what cops were doing generally, right? Let me take it a step further because you're like, but he still did it. Don't. Hey, a serial killer couldn't have done it, and drug dealers couldn't have done it. Okay, fine. Here's the other thing. Let's talk about Central Park 5. Central Park 5 was something that kept happening. White woman screams rape, that, and then black people get blamed. That's a thing. That's a theme of America, right? That's what Birth of a Nation basically was like about. You made up propaganda. But but this is where I'm gonna go with it. The Central Park 5 took 20 something years to go she was lying, right? Not 20 something years. It took like a decade or some shit like that. Decade, maybe a decade two. It took a while. When the black lady lied on the Duke lacrosse team, oh, it was big news, baby. You see how those people act? And it's like, us people act? It's rare that something like that happened with us, falsely accusing y'all. But it happened. Might have happened twice in my lifetime, actually. But, oh, you see what's going on? It's like, yeah, we see what's going on. We see that you can get the media, the court system, the police, everybody can do an investigation if they feel a black woman's lying on white men. But when white men or white women are lying on black people, I don't understand the law. That, the hypocrisy of it. The straight hypocrisy of it. When she was talking about with the Kyle Rittenhouse thing, because I'm going to go back too, but the Kyle Rittenhouse thing, it wasn't just the Kyle Rittenhouse thing. It was damn. So a white teenager could go across state lines with a gun and not be eligible and not be old enough to be carrying that gun, and there's no consequences. Damn, but y'all was putting rappers in jail for that same shit. For a rapper go across state lines with a gun, gotta go to jail. And it's like, person shoots himself with a gun, you were transporting, go to jail. White kid who ain't old enough to actually be walking around with a gun can walk around with a gun, no problem. And even going back to the law part of it, that's the hypocrisy of America. Damn, how often do you see judges constantly get into it with prosecutors, especially on a nationally televised case? You kind of going, okay, you biased, because let's just say if so we know, okay, you can break all of these laws, and you can wind up shooting people. And then here's the thing: people consider pointing a gun at somebody an act of aggression, but in these situations, it's not. You get what I'm saying? So it is what it is. That's a problem. But with anybody else, it's like, yeah, that's an issue. Now, before Kyle Rittenhouse, do y'all remember Clive and Bundy got in a standoff with like the police and the feds? Basically, was using women and children as a shield to get shot if they actually got into a shootout. And then the cops and I think the FBI just backed down, went home, and them guys went back home. And then they wound up doing stuff months later. And then they went to jail for like taking over people that was involved with them or them. I forget which one it was. Took over like a federal building in like a different state. And then they had another standoff, and then somebody got shot, and then somebody got killed, and then they went to jail, and then they had a trial to get them acquitted for this. It's like, you see what I'm saying? Like, these things keep happening, and it's like, yeah, man, y'all don't, y'all, we have all these laws in this country, but no, y'all don't really follow these laws. You know, y'all break these laws all the time and cover for each other when y'all break these laws, and then blame everybody else when y'all break these laws. Matter of fact, I could just go into all of like the Rampart scandal. I forgot the white dude that was torturing people in Chicago. If y'all ever seen the movie Usual Suspects, when they robbed the cops, of the jewelry because they was basically running, underground. They was basically security for fences, basically. So they was running, let's just say, stolen underground goods from one place to the other, and they was the security. That's a true story. I want to say that happened in New Orleans. That was a true story. You know what I'm saying? So, like when Tamir Rice got shot, it's not a big deal. Oh, all of the incidents, even the police incidents, where it's blatant, the police is out of pocket. We don't see a problem with it. Blatant issues on camera, not an issue. As a matter of fact, how many times have we seen cops getting a shootout and a stranger starts shooting with the cops, but they were white? You get what I'm saying? Like, that's not something. We know better than that. We know better than that. Even if we're trying to help them, they'll blow our head off. So the inconsistency is a thing. As a matter of fact, going backwards in a sense, there's always been a urban legend about Johnny Cochran, because Johnny Cochran's next case, when he died, was actually petitioning for reparations, and then all of a sudden he had a heart attack. That's a thing. That's a thing. As a matter of, and even getting past that, how many times have you seen stories of inventors, scientists, businessmen create something or start to make something that might be groundbreaking, and so all of a sudden they get in a plane crash. All of a sudden they drown just mysteriously. What was the brother that he's the white guy Webb that talked about the police being basically a criminal operation and be, I really want to say, behold the pale horse, and all of a sudden he was just found dead, suicide. When the people are like, not buying it. These are the things that keep happening. Matter of fact, speaking of that, remember when the L.A. the Hispanics cops in the L.A. got busted for having a gang? That was a couple years ago. Not a couple, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. It was the Desperados or something like that. That was a thing, but not a big deal. It's not a big deal. They had those stories about. Now these, I don't know how true it is, but because they had this story about like a senator, like a tanker he owned or was a part owner, got caught with like a lot of dope, tons of dope. And it's like, I don't know what this is. Who knew? It's like, yeah, yeah. You the plug, I see. But when it comes to Black America, we see this stuff and it's like, okay. You remember, as a matter of fact, what was that scandal? Because there was a black guy, a black coach that got in trouble for that. When the celebrities and the rich people were buying scholarships, paying off school staff, college staff to get their kids these crazy ass scholarships so they can get them in like USC, Stanford, Yale. Just it's on Netflix. I forget the name of the joint. And I'm saying all these things to say, y'all really just, when somebody black does something, is and the rules just don't apply. Like with the Carmel Cyrus Belton thing, shooting people in the back is not a crime anymore. Okay, interesting. I'm gonna tell you how interesting that is. Out here in Texas, a while back, some Hispanic guys broke into a white man's house. He ran out. He shot shot at him in the house. They ran out the house. He shot him in the back. He went to jail. But if it's a little black kid, I thought he was stealing. Shoot him in the back. Not a big deal. Even with that case, that thing about the what do you call that? Shoot. We're not supposed to bring up his other shootings. If it was a black person, you would have brought up his past. Just like, y'all crucified George Floyd. Oh, he had a bad past. A lot of people, George Zimmerman had a bad past. I was like, nobody asked, how did he have a gun? And he got arrested for assaulting a cop. Nobody had a question about that. Nobody. So that's why we go, the way y'all do this law shit in America is like, oh, okay. The way the government goes about January 6th. You had all this militarized police for all these, black protests. But when you storm the United States Capitol, nothing. Nothing. Y'all wanted to arrest a black cop for shooting a white lady who was breaking into the Capitol. Nothing. Like, this is how we like, y'all got this law shit. It's just weird. It was prior to that where what was the ones that the dudes that tried to, they basically held a senator or something hostage. I forgot. Was that Minnesota, Michigan? Y'all don't say nothing. It's not. It's like, we're being patriots. It's like, boy, oh boy. The stuff, like the way y'all do this law shit, don't make sense. But I'm gonna leave it at that, man. It's I could go on forever. I don't went on damn near 18 minutes. So, and that's really the tip of the iceberg. But I'll catch you on the next one, man. Tell me what you think. Peace.